Hey everybody, welcome to the land of Israel. I am Ron Cantor, the president of Shalano TV, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you today about Queen Rania, my neighbor. She is lives just across the Jordan River, and she's a queen, and she's very pretty. Everybody likes her. She gets to be on TV. I dare say that if she wasn't as attractive as she is, she probably wouldn't be given so much time on television. But she was on CNN yesterday, and here is just a little snippet of what she shared. Let me see if I can find it. It is over here. Just one second. Here we go. She said, Palestinians do not hate Israelis because of who they are. They hate them because of what they're doing. In other words, what the Queen is saying is that the Palestinian hatred of the Jewish people is only because of the way, the evil ways in which we treat them. And, you know, if I seem a little bit upbeat today, it's just because I'm choosing to be upbeat. I'm not upbeat. We're in a war. It's horrible. People are dying on both sides. There is no joy in that. But I feel like I have to confront these lies, and I need to do it with facts, not just with passion, not just with beauty. I'm not quite as attractive as the Queen, but I could have put on some makeup. I didn't. But I'm going to use facts, all right? We're going to primarily use facts to combat what I believe is an absolute lie. I live in Israel, and it is not my experience having, I've been here since the second Intifada in 2003, towards the end of it. I remember the first Intifada in 1987 and the years following. I remember buses being blown up, restaurants being blown up, wedding halls being blown up during weddings, obviously, killing scores of innocent Israelis. I certainly remember October the 7th when 1,200 Israelis were murdered in cold blood, with joy. With joy. I just want you to understand that if you have the stomach to watch some of the footage and see the pure joy on the killers, it's difficult to see. There's one intercept of a conversation. It was made on the phone of an Israeli by the Muslim terrorist from Hamas who killed her. And he called up his parents in Gaza, euphoric. He's so excited because he said, I don't know if I believe him, but he said he killed 10 Jews with his bare hands. And he was so happy, and he bragged, I'm using her phone. And again, Queen Rania says that they only hate us because of what we do to them. But what you're hearing here, this is deep hatred that leads to murder. His mother said to him, I wish I was there with you, killing Jews. That's what his mother said to him. So you got to wonder what his mother taught him all his life. But I just want to make a few points that I posted on Twitter for the Queen because she follows me. She doesn't really, but maybe she'll see it. I don't know. But I didn't really post it for her because I don't think I'll change her mind. But I don't want you to fall for the lies. Do you understand? And by the way, we have a book that is called Don't Fall for the Lies, the 15 most important facts about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And you can get that free. There is a link in, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can get that link. And let me just read it to you in case you're not watching on Facebook. Here it is. It is at my website, roncantor.com/don't-fall-for-lies. Probably need to make that easier, but you can get it in the description on Facebook. I want to make a few points. I don't want to spend a long time today, but I just feel they're just so... most of us have lives and we just don't have the time and energy to combat all these lies every day. But I care for you. I don't want you to watch things like this and believe that. The fact of the matter is what she said, it's the opposite that is the truth. I've been saying this forever. First of all, Israelis, for the most part, do not hate Arabs. They don't. We see them every day. I have seen Arabs today, just living my life in Israel. I've seen Arabs today. They're in my city. They're working downstairs right now. By the way, it used to be Palestinian Arabs until October the 7th. Just to understand what Hamas did, not only to Israel, but to their own people. There'd be not one death in Gaza, not one child maimed or hurt because of a bomb, if not for October the 7th. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs that have now been lost. Part of the reason there is a humanitarian crisis is that there were thousands of Palestinians that would come into Israel and work. They weren't terrorists for the most part. I will say this, that the maps that were found on the bodies of dead terrorists on October the 7th and October the 8th did have details about all the kibbutzim that they attacked. Where did they get those maps? Unfortunately, it was the Palestinian workers. Just so you understand, not just to show you that we don't hate Arabs. The kibbutzim employed not just Israeli Arabs, but Palestinians. And you say, oh, well, they were treated them like slaves. No, they didn't. In fact, the first two hostages that were released, and I believe their husbands are still in captivity. They may be dead by now. I believe they published the fact that they're dead. But these families, let me just help you understand what their attitude was towards Arabs. They would take the children of these Palestinians to hospitals in Israel to get help when they needed it. They loved these Palestinians. And what did they do? They went, now maybe it was coerced, I don't know. Hamas definitely would do something like that, but they knew where everything was. They knew where the armory was, where the Lashatz is that's the Hebrew term for the leader of the civil squads that would protect the community. They knew where everything was. They knew who lived where. And they got that from the Palestinians who worked there. So the fact that she thinks that Palestinians only hate the Jewish people, and by the way, it's the Jewish people, it's not Israelis. It's just because of the way that we treat them. It's the opposite that is the truth. There are Israelis who hate Arabs. I'm not going to lie to you that most don't. I'm just going to turn off my email so it does not keep making noise. Most do not, in the sense of a racist, I hate you because you're an Arab, but there are some, for sure. But I can guarantee you this, it is only because of the way that we have been treated since 1948, and really before, by the Arab nation, which is, 500 million strong, over 1 billion Muslims in the world, and for the most part, they're taught to hate Jews. But we won't, that's later on in the broadcast. But the fact of the matter is that we could have peace today. There could have been peace today. Understand that much of the Israeli population, the Jewish Israeli population, half of us came from the Arab world. My wife, her parents were born in Morocco, an Arab nation. And you should know that after Israel became a nation in 1948, many of the Jews in Morocco wanted to come to Israel, and the king of Morocco shut down immigration and made it illegal for Jewish people to move to Israel. And so if they did so, they had to do so secretly. They did it on secret ships until I think it was 1961, one sunk, everybody on board died, and there was such pressure internationally that the king of Morocco decided to stop persecuting the Jewish people that wanted to come to Israel. And that's where my in-laws came. So I want to just, the fact of the matter is that there could be peace between Jewish people and Arab people, if not for Arab hatred of the Jewish people. Do you understand that Jewish people don't wake up every day and think about killing Arabs? They don't, Israelis don't. They don't, when they go to the synagogue and pray, that is not one of the prayers. But it is in Islam. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through a few facts, and you can read them in the notes. So as I said a minute ago, number one, half of Israel came from the Arab world. And not just the Arab world, also the Muslim world. Iran is not an Arab country. Turkey is not an Arab country. Indonesia is not an Arab country. Not many Jews came from Indonesia. Some came from India. But Morocco, Iraq. By the way, the Jews of Iraq that wanted to leave, they had to leave all their money behind. 130,000 Moroccan Jews left everything to come to Israel, and Iraq gained $30 billion by today's standard. They stole that from the Jewish people that wanted to leave. Iraq, and a lot of these nations are relatively new. I don't know if you know this, but before World War II, there was no independent Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. These are all nations that came out of the Ottoman Empire, which was defeated in World War I. And then just in the middle of World War II, they actually achieved independence. They're all new nations. So when you think of this idea that Israel's a new nation, but they're surrounded by all these Arab nations that have been here forever, that's a lie. For the most part, the Arabs are part of what's called Arabia, the Arab nations, not these new independent nations that have sprung up. But the Jewish people, over a million, not over a million, just under a million Jewish people in the early years of Israel's independence, I want to be factually correct, it was about 600,000. So not just under a million, just over 500,000. 600,000 over the first few years fled Iraq, Iran, Yemen, the Houthis, remember them? They fled mostly because of persecution and partly because they wanted to be part of the new nation of Israel. Why did they want to be part of a nation that had virtually no military, that everybody wanted to kill? Because they understood that after the Holocaust, their lives were in peril to not be in the new nation of Israel. That would become the safest place for the Jewish people. Number two, the fact is Islam teaches Arabs to hate Jews. Do you understand that? When you go to a mosque, at least a radical one in the Middle East, they're not saying nice things about Jews. They're not preaching peace. They're not thinking, you know what, wouldn't it be great if Jews and Muslims kick? No, they are teaching hatred of Jewish people. Let me read to you from a very famous Islamic Hadith. It says this: Judgment Day will not come until the Muslims fight the Jews. In other words, they're taught from a very young age that God will not come in Judgment Day for them is when the Islamic, I forgot how to say it, well, I'm not an expert in Islam, but the Muslim Messiah comes until Islam takes over the world. That's not going to happen until the Muslims fight the Jews. The Jews will hide behind stones and trees, and the stones and the trees will say, "O Muslim, O servant of Allah, there is a Jew hiding behind me." In other words, the rock, we're so horrible, Jewish people, that the rocks are going to betray us and the trees are going to betray us, and they will alert the Muslim and say, "Hey, there's a Jew hiding behind me." And the rocks and the trees will say, "Come and kill the Jews." So that's not taught in synagogues. I grew up in synagogue. I never remember being taught that we need to hate Arabs or that we should kill them or that the Messiah will not come back until we kill the Arabs, until we kill Muslims. Never. Never. Are there racists within Judaism? Of course. There's racists it's far more prolific against Jewish people in the Arab world. Just turn on your Twitter. It's free reign on anti-Semitism these days. So, number three, I think we're at number three. If the Palestinian Arabs only hate the Jewish people, only hate Israel, because of the way that we treat them, why did the Arabs, and including the Mufti in Jerusalem, the Mufti in Jerusalem was the highest ranking Islamic figure in Jerusalem during World War II, before Israel was a nation. So that was before Palestinian refugee camps. That was before the 5 Arab nations attacked Israel in 1948, and somehow miraculously we won, which created a Palestinian refugee problem. By the way, we could have had peace in 1948. They chose war. That created the refugee problem, not Israel. That the UN, United Nations, had recommended a Jewish state and an Arab state. Jewish people said yes. Arabs said no. They told the Arabs to leave the region while they killed all the Jews, and then they could come back. And that created 800,000 refugees. Their desire for war. All right, what was my point? My point was this. Why is it, Queen Rania, that before Israel was a nation, before there were Palestinian refugees, before the Arabs even called themselves Palestinian, there was nobody in 1948 that referred to themselves as an ethnic Palestinian. It was just anybody who lived in this region, Jew, Christian, Arab, Martian, whatever. It had nothing to do with Arab culture. There's no Palestinian Arab language. It goes back 2,000 years to the Romans, but let's not digress right now. Why is it the Mufti in Jerusalem, I've been trying to say this for 5 minutes, why is it the Mufti in Jerusalem supported Adolf Hitler? I'm just going to take a break here, a moment of silence so you can think about that. Why, before Israel ever mistreated the quote-unquote Palestinians, before there were refugee camps, before Israel was a nation, why did the Arabs who lived in this region support Adolf Hitler in the attempted genocide of every Jew in Europe? Let me tell you why, Queen Rania. Because they're taught from the time they're young to hate the Jewish people. You are lying. You know you're lying. You know you're lying. It's not, and this is something you have to understand, dear friends in the West. If you live in the West, you live in a truth-fact system. Not so here in the Middle East. And by the way, in Islam, lying for the right things is allowed. It's another hadith. If you're doing a righteous thing, like spreading anti-Semitism, you are religiously given a pass on lying. It's okay if it's, to hurt Jewish people. I'm not making that up. It's in another hadith that I don't have in front of me, but it's in there. Why did the Arabs support, and particularly the ones who would now call themselves Palestinians, why did they support Hitler? Because they hated Jews. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Queen knows that. Okay. Number, 4. There are 22 Arab states and over 50 Muslim majority states. So Arab states like Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Sudan, Morocco, Libya. And then you have Muslim majority states like Indonesia, Iran, that are not Arabs, Turkey. 50, over 50 of them. Are they racist? Why doesn't anybody, what horrible people, how dare them have a Muslim majority? That's just wrong. Yet, the one Jewish state that was created after the Holocaust, because everybody wanted to kill us, the reason that the world allowed for the Jewish state to become a nation was because of the Holocaust. They finally saw that the Jewish people would not survive unless we had our own. And listen, I'm sorry that we're strong. I'm sorry that we built ourselves up. I'm sorry that we did not just focus on a fanatic religion, but we actually excelled in math and science and in technology and medicine and military strength. So we could survive. Do you understand something? We're only alive. I am only breathing here right now in the city of Ashkelon because Israel is a strong nation and the grace of God. Let's be honest. Israel is a strong nation because of the grace of God. But we focus on that. In most of the Arab states that are oil rich, they did not focus on education. They focused on Islamic fanaticism. And now look at the world. One Jewish state. Can we just have one Jewish state? And by the way, let me be clear. I'll say this is point number 5. On October the 7th, given the opportunity, Hamas would have committed genocide in Israel. They committed a mini genocide. They killed 1,200. They would have killed, in just a few hours, they killed 1,200 in cold blood. And as I said yesterday, it was deeply personal. It wasn't a bomb falling on someone. It wasn't a soldier in battle, a sniper shooting from far. It was a grown man in his 20s or 30s looking at a 25-year-old girl and shooting her, throwing a grenade at her, raping her. Do you understand? That Queen Rania, that's not resistance. That's not freedom fighter. I did see a pamphlet the other day, and it says that rape is resistance, and with the Palestinian flag. In other words, they're justifying the raping of unarmed women and girls as an under 18 as a form of resistance. Do you think that's okay, Queen? By the way, Queen, in your interview, you didn't call for the release of the hostages. Why not? I mean, wouldn't that be, don't you want that? That would certainly stop, even if you hate Jews, Queen, that would stop the war. If Hamas would surrender and the hostages came home, it would stop the war. But let me get back to my point. Hamas, if they had the means, if we're just talking about genocide, South Africa, going to the court in The Hague. If Hamas today, right now, if they could press their finger on a button and kill every single Jew in the world, they'd do it without hesitation. We have to be strong, because if we lose one war, we're done as a nation. The Arab nations can lose many wars, and they have. They've lost many wars to Israel. There's been attempted genocide in 1948. When Israel became a nation, in 1956, when Egypt attacked us, in 1967 during the Six-Day War, when Egypt, Syria, and Jordan were about to attack us, 1973 during the Yom Kippur War. Do you understand that the Arab nations, and Queen, your father-in-law was part of that. King Hussein, who wanted to fill the Mediterranean with the blood of Jews, who wanted to fill the sands of Arabia with the blood of Jews. That's what they said on the radio, particularly the president of Egypt, Gamal Nasser, in the 1960s. The truth be told, that it was King Hussein, who eventually made peace with Israel, which was a really smart move on his part, because war was not working. But they wanted genocide, and they want it now. They long for the genocide of Israel. And I can tell you this right now, I live here. I've lived here since October 7th. No Israeli that I have met is talking about the dream of the genocide of the Arab world, of the Palestinian people. And for the few people who talk about, displacement, that we should just take the Arabs of Gaza and move them, I don't know personally any Jewish people that are advocating. There's a few, and are crazy politicians. That is only because you want to kill us. That's it. Imagine if in 2005, when Israel left Gaza, that the Hamas leaders, they came into power a year later, if they said, you know what? God bless those Jews. They left Gaza. Let's build a country. Let's build a society. But we have the most beautiful beaches in Israel. Or actually not in Israel, but in Gaza. They are I was at Zikim, which is just about 2 minutes north of Gaza, where the terrorists came in Zodiac boats. They killed 17 people in cold blood. I was there. The army took me there to see what Hamas did. And you know what I noticed? In addition to seeing the holes from the RPGs and buildings that had been blown up, and the bullet holes in the girls' bathroom, in addition to seeing that, I noticed that the beach is beautiful. More beautiful than Tel Aviv, Ashkelon, than any of the beaches in Israel. And I've never been into Gaza, but I'm told that they have the most beautiful beach. They could be a destination, but Hamas does not want that. Do you know why they don't want that? It's because of what I read to you from the Hadith just a few minutes ago. They believe that God will not come to their rescue until they kill Jews. So they don't care about tourism. They don't care about an economy. They don't care about Palestinians dying. They are much more concerned about killing Jews. Okay, let's keep going here. The fact is that the Palestinians, or rather Hamas, is a much greater threat to the Palestinians of Gaza than Israel is. Had Hamas not attacked Israel on October 7th, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. I would be eating lunch right now instead of making this video. The Queen would not be spreading hate on CNN if not for Hamas on October 7th. The 30,000 dead people, by the way, we don't know if that number, those numbers come from Hamas. But we do know this, that 13,000 of those who have died in Gaza are Hamas terrorists. So if you think it's 30,000 children, 30,000 women, that absolutely not. But none of those people would be dead today. None of them would be dead today except for October the 7th, except for killing 1,200 Israelis and kidnapping 246. And might I remind you, Queen Rania, there are still over 100 Israelis in Gaza. Why are you not working to get these innocent people out? Most of them are kibbutznik, left-wing, people who want peace with the Arabs. Hostages still there. And one more point, last point, and then I'm going to let you go, if you're still with me. By the way, I never checked to make sure that my microphone was working, as I typically do, but I trust that it is. One more thing, Queen. If the Arabs, Palestinians, don't outright hate the Jewish people, why did they reject a Jewish state in 1936? I'm sorry, an Arab state in 1936. And why did they reject statehood in 1947? But in 1937, the Peel Commission created came up with a plan that there would be a Jewish state and an Arab state. Jews said yes, Arabs said no. In 1947, the UN voted on partition. Jews said yes, Arabs said no. This was before Israel was a nation. And they said, we will not allow, the Arabs said, we will not allow for any Arab nation if it means saying yes to a Jewish nation. I mean, the Jewish people said yes to a nation, even though it meant that Jerusalem would go to the Arab people. It's okay. We need our own nation. The Arabs said, who hates who? Who hated who first, Queen? I think it's pretty obvious. And by the way, if you look at those maps, just go Google that. The partition map of 1947, the Peel Commission map of 1936, you'll notice that it does not call for a Palestinian state because there were no such thing as Palestinians. It says a Jewish state and an Arab state. Nobody referred to Palestinians or to Arabs as ethnic Palestinians at that time. It's a new thing. As Newt Gingrich once said, it's an invented people, and it's fine. There are new nations that pop up all the time. People come together and they declare independence. Just be honest about what you've not been there for 500 years. You've not been there for 2,000 years. There have not been ethnic Palestinians until Arafat invented the ethnicity in the late 50s, early 60s. So that's just a little food for thought. And if you want to get the book, Don't Believe the Lies, the 15 most important things you need to know about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The link to that is in the notes, and you can click there. All right. God bless you. And keep praying for us here. It's not easy. It's been a very difficult time, but we thank God that we have friends like you. God bless you in Yeshua's name. Bye-bye.